There was a time when I thought comparison would make me better. I believed that if I kept measuring myself against people who were smarter, more successful, more talented, or better looking, I would eventually become more like them. Instead, I slowly became less like myself. Looking back, comparison has been one of the quietest forces in my life. Not because it screamed, because it whispered. It whispered when I was 15 years old. I had fallen in love with the guitar. Playing music felt effortless. It felt like home. Then one day, I started comparing myself to my guitar teacher. He was incredible. Everything sounded easy. Every note seemed perfect. Instead of thinking, one day I could learn from him, I thought, I'll never be that good. That single thought didn't make me quit overnight. It simply made me believe my dream belonged to someone else. Looking back now, I wasn't losing to my teacher. I was losing to the story I created in my own mind. Comparison didn't stop there. When I was growing up, I was usually the darkest kid in the room. Most of the people around me had lighter skin. Adults made comments. Kids laughed. Girls rejected me. Little by little, I started comparing my face to everyone else's. Eventually, I stopped seeing myself. I only saw what I wasn't. Years later, I looked at old photographs of myself. I remember staring at them thinking, what was I so afraid of? I wasn't ugly. I wasn't broken. I was just a normal kid, trying to understand himself through the opinions of other people. Comparison had convinced me that someone else's reflection mattered more than my own. Then came my career. I became a software engineer. It was difficult, much more difficult than music had ever been. I compared myself to developers who seemed to know everything. Sometimes I admired them. Sometimes I doubted myself. Sometimes I forgot something important. Many of those people actually loved software. I loved music. Of course, our paths looked different. I was comparing my purpose to someone else's passion. No wonder I always felt behind. I think that's what comparison does. It quietly changes the question. Instead of asking, who am I becoming? It asks, why am I not more like them? And that's a question nobody can answer with peace. Because there will always be someone faster, someone richer, someone more talented, someone younger, someone with more followers. Comparison is a game with no finish line. One day, I realized something that completely changed the way I saw my life. The people I admired weren't living my story. They weren't carrying my fears. They weren't learning my lessons. They weren't meant to walk my road. And I wasn't meant to walk theirs. That realization felt incredibly freeing. Not because I suddenly became confident, but because I finally stopped trying to become someone else. Today, I still admire people. I still learn from them. I still get inspired. But inspiration and comparison are not the same thing. Inspiration says, look what's possible. Comparison says, it'll never be enough. One builds you. The other slowly erases you. Now, when I see someone doing something amazing, I try not to ask, why am I not there yet? Instead, I ask, what can I learn from their journey while continuing my own? That single question has brought me more peace than years of comparison ever did. Maybe that's what growing up really is. Realizing your life was never supposed to look like someone else's. The world doesn't need another version of the people you admire. It already has them. What it doesn't have is your story, your voice, your perspective. your way of seeing the world. Today, I don't want to be better than someone else. I want to be a little more honest, a little more courageous, and a little more myself than I was yesterday. Because comparison spent years convincing me that my value depended on where I stood next to other people. Peace began the day I stopped standing next to them and started walking my own path. Maybe the person you've been comparing yourself to was never your competition. Maybe they were simply walking a different road. And maybe the only life you were ever meant to build was your own.